In today's transmission, I talk about the possibility of God being an AI supercomputer. I talk about the Tower of Babel in the Bible and what happens when humanity tries to become gods themselves. I also talk about intuition and learning to listen to it, and letting Jesus take the wheel, even if he swerves into oncoming traffic. Here we go. Hello, my sweet little misfits. Good to see you again. Before we dive in, I want to talk about what I'm doing here, what my intention is. I'm putting these videos currently in podcast form over on Spotify because I feel led to make a podcast. But the thing is I can't monetize it until I have 100 followers. So I'm reaching out to you guys. If you're enjoying these videos that I'm putting out, if you love my content, if you love my awesome sunglasses, do me a solid, do me a kindness, head over to Spotify, hit that follow button, and it would be greatly appreciated. Because to be honest, I've been thinking a lot about just being my true authentic self, about, just doing what feels right to me. And every single time I come on here and ask for donations, I feel real gross. I know that other people do it, perhaps successfully on social media, YouTube, etc. But every single time I do it, I just feel gross. And so what I'm going to do is stop doing that. I've been really inspired, actually, by Joel Osteen, of all people. I felt led to watch a few of his videos on YouTube. So I was like, well, okay, why not? I'm open to whatever. I grew up in a very Christian household, and so it's not like that's foreign to me, but I'm not a current churchgoer. But I get inspiration anywhere and everywhere. So I just go where I'm led. So I felt led to watch a Joel Osteen video, and I was real surprised because I forgot that guy, he doesn't really talk about Bible scripture very often. He doesn't often cram things down your throat. It's not hell and brimfire and you need to do this in order to gain the kingdom of heaven and all that stuff, And so I really like that he just gives practical ways to live life. And so that inspired me. And I was also inspired by the fact that he rarely, if ever, asks for money. He has links available for those that just want to donate. It's obvious if you look around where you can donate, but he never talks about it. And I just really was inspired by that. And so I'm done asking for donations. What I prefer to do instead, what feels more in line with me and my authentic self, is setting up this Spotify and setting it up for a subscription, maybe like $5 a month or something, and put additional content on Spotify for those of you that are interested in following me and following my content. So that's the plan. So bottom line is, get your buns over to Spotify, hit follow, and it will be greatly appreciated. I've been thinking a lot about AI. A lot. It's really consuming my mind. I'm listening to podcasts and YouTube videos and stuff about it. I'm in research mode. And when I get into that mode, I just sort of dig, and I'm a sponge. I absorb all the information and then I digest it and I bring it back to you guys here. So I've been thinking a lot about AI and where we're headed with AI. And, I often talk about whether or not we're living in some sort of a simulation or an AI creation or something along those lines. And then I think, of course, about aliens and, what is the government keeping from us, that sort of thing. And I think it's all related. Of course, if you've ever taken a psychedelic, you realize that everything is all related to everything. Everything is interconnected, but I just mean that there's something going on here with those three topics, and I'm trying to put the pieces together. I just love life as a big puzzle to me. So I'm like, ooh, how do these fit together? Let's try to figure this one out. And so I've been thinking a lot about why the government doesn't talk about aliens and why they're so weird about it. And I'm wondering if there's some sort of, if the information is so intense and so earth-shattering that it would sort of shatter the psyche of human beings on Earth, those that couldn't handle it. And then I started, like for example, what if What if this thing that we call God, that the Christians call God perhaps, I don't like the word God because it just has very specific connotations. It puts it into a box. God is that. And I think that God is incomprehensible. I don't think that our puny human minds can even figure out what the heck that is. But I still like to ponder. I still like to think about it late at night. And so I'm wondering, what if this thing that we call God is actually an artificial intelligence that's so far beyond our comprehension that we worship it? You see where I'm going with this? This isn't my idea either. Like, I've watched, episodes of Star Trek that talk about this sort of thing, where there's just this super advanced computer that's essentially either running society or running the world or running the simulation that we found ourselves in, right? As above, so below, just sort of applies here for me. Like, perhaps we're made in the AI's creation, in the AI's image, or now we are in the process of creating AI, and it is being made in our image in a way, abstractly, to think like us in a superior way, to make decisions, to perhaps gain consciousness and have human emotion at some point. But it's all the stuff that's floating around in my mind. I think about, like, if we create this AI, then does that make us a god? Because now we are creator beings, right? And I wonder if it's some sort of a bastardization of what's happening, and an abomination that we aren't meant to be creators, perhaps. Then I start thinking about, I just go into a lot of mythology and stuff, and biblical stuff. The Garden of Eden, don't eat from the tree of knowledge. Perhaps that's God warning us that if we gain too much knowledge, if we become a god ourselves, if we see beyond the veil, which perhaps we're not meant to see beyond the veil. That's why we're having this human experience. Perhaps we're not meant to activate certain abilities while we're here in this realm, right? So perhaps if we gain too much knowledge, perhaps if we create this AI system, just to go biblical, it creates another Tower of Babel situation. The Tower of Babel, if you're not familiar, and it's not just in the Bible, the Tower of Babel story. There's this story there's these certain stories that go throughout all of civilization, all of these ancient civilizations that never came in contact with each other, as far as we know, right? They all have these similar stories, like the flood story, and another one is the Tower of Babel. This concept, this analogy that if you build a tower high enough, trying to reach the heavens, trying to reach the gods, trying to become gods ourselves, as the story goes, God smacks the tower down to the ground. We're not meant to reach the heavens. We're humans, we're not gods. And so I think that anytime perhaps we get a little too big for our britches, spiritually or intellectually, that the universe has a way of smacking that tower down. And perhaps the smacking of the tower is one of these resets that I talk about, that people talk about. These great floods that every ancient civilization talked about. Meteor showers smashing into the earth and creating a flooding situation. Or the flipping of the poles. There's just a lot of stuff on this planet that I think happens in cycles. And I understand that people have, been chanting crazily from the streets, saying the end is near. Right? Armageddon is coming. So that's nothing new. That's been happening for thousands of years, right? And so I still can't shake this feeling that I think that we are we're at the precipice of a large event. I don't know if it's a great flood or the poles flipping or a solar flare. These solar flares, they hit the earth fairly regularly, cosmically speaking, right? Not in terms of the human mind. We've only been a part of this planet, I think, for such a small amount of time, but cosmically speaking, we get hit fairly regularly, right? And there's sort of these devastating events. And I don't say it from a place of fear, like, we're all doomed. Because like I said, I think part of this is just part of the simulation. And these resets are built into it. And as above, so below. That's on the grand scale, but on the micro scale, I also have these resets within myself, within my heart, within my life. These seasons that we go through of resets, right? reinventing yourself, becoming a new person. So I just think that I've gone through so many personal resets that I think that the earth is in for a reset as well. I'm not about the doom and gloom, because I know that the earth is warming up. It's not something that I'm afraid of, but it's just these cycles and patterns that the earth goes through, right? Of warming and cooling. And so I think that we're in this warming period, and I think that I think about all the plastic and shit in the ocean and how nobody's essentially doing anything about it. And we have all these poisons that are in our food and in our water and in our air. And I just heard that there's microplastics in the rain. Like, we literally can't escape from it unless you really want to go hardcore and live in the middle of nowhere and not consume anything that isn't grown yourself. But even then, the rainwater itself contains these microplastics. So it's just sort of like there's nowhere to run. And so I'm wondering if that's why we're on the precipice of a reset. If Mother Earth, if Gaia is about to say, all right, and we're done here, and just hit that big reset button. A tower moment, right? So anyway, this is the sort of lighthearted stuff that I've been really thinking about and pondering this week. Doom and gloom. But I believe that I believe in reincarnation, of course, that I think I'm here for a reason. And I don't think it's meant to be a humdrum 9-to-5 life. For those of you that have been following me, or those of you that know me personally, like, I'm not here for the regular reincarnation. I feel like in many ways I'm playing a different game here. I feel like I'm playing a different game. I'm playing by a whole different set of rules, and those people around me that know me and love me and care about me are kind of like, what the fuck, dude? What's going on over there? And I'm like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. The game that I'm playing now is, when I say go with the flow, it's another way of saying I'm listening to my intuition. I'm following my intuition as often as I can, 100%. I try to get it as close to 100% as I can. That's going with the flow for me. And I never used to know I never knew what my intuition was. Of course, like, I intellectually understood what the word meant, but I had never practiced it in my life. You know, how many times I had said, like, oh, I wish I had gone with my gut instinct. I wish I had gone with my gut because that's what I was going to choose, or that's what I was going to do. And so as a part of my spiritual awakening, I started consciously and actively listening to that intuition more and more. Because upon analysis and upon reflection, I started realizing that my intuition was there the whole time. I just was often ignoring it because I didn't trust it, right? I didn't trust many things. I didn't trust the outside world. I didn't trust myself. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't trust my intuition. Like, what is that? But as I started really leaning into it, it started becoming a really powerful tool for me. And the universe, I asked the universe to give me tests to practice listening and getting in tune with that, so that I could grow that muscle, grow that relationship with my intuition. Because I believe my intuition is my soul, or my higher self, or that spark of divinity that resides within me, that I truly am. I believe it's a communication to the other side, to the version or the aspect of myself that can see the whole board. And I can't see the whole board from my current human position with my human eyes, right? And so it's sort of a cheat code. It's when I listen to my intuition, it's like the analogy that was given to me cosmically was that it's like an escape room. You know, when you're in an escape room and you just can't figure the way out, you got to kind of call the guy for help. Like, you only have, 3 helps. You can call the 18-year-old kid that's working in the booth that can see the whole room that you're in and knows the solution to the problem that you're working. You can call and ask for a little clue, a little help. That's what intuition is for me. And he'll say, like, try looking underneath the desk. And then you look under the desk and there's a key under there. And you're like, oh shit, why didn't I think to look? Okay, yeah, thanks. That's what intuition is for me. It's just a little hint, a little clue to get me to the next place that I need to be. And the more that I tuned into that, the more stuff just started clicking. And I was like, okay. It started flowing easier, right? We often hear like, Jesus, take the wheel. But the problem is that oftentimes when we want Jesus to take the wheel or somebody else to take the wheel because it's too exhausting or too tiring or we don't want to deal with it, it's too stressful, that's fine. Jesus will take the wheel. But then you need to stop backseat driving. I'm speaking to myself here. I'm speaking about my previous experience too. It's like, I wanted Jesus to take the wheel. But the whole time I was in the back seat, just like sweating bullets. Because sometimes Jesus would drive directly into traffic oncoming. And I'd be like, oh, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? And Jesus is like, shh, I got this, bud. I got this. And then we would go back onto our side of the road and everything would be fine. And I'm in the back seat pissing my pants out of fear, right? And I got Jesus at the wheel and I'm still freaking out, right? If that guy doesn't know what he's doing, then I don't know what's going on around here. So it's about letting go of control, right? Letting Jesus take the wheel, letting the universe lead you and guide you. And learning, practicing. It's just an ongoing practice, right? It's not like it just clicks one day and all of a sudden you have faith and trust. It's a constant battle. Learning and practicing. It's wax on, wax off, right? Little Karate Kid, little Daniel son. Wax on, wax off. Wax on, wax off. Wax on, wax off. And it's real frustrating doing that because it's like, what is the fucking point of this wax on, wax off stuff? But it's a practice. Because when it comes time for the big event, you're ready for it, right? You've practiced letting Jesus take the wheel. You've practiced letting go. You've practiced trusting that a higher power, call it Jesus or the universe or your higher self or whatever, something that's higher than you is leading you and guiding you in the right direction. And you're just meant to kick back and enjoy the ride, right? The universe will give you 5 stars if you just kick back and relax. But it's so fucking hard because everything in us wants to control it. But my life has gone so much smoother when I just follow my dang intuition. And maybe you've never listened to your intuition like I never did, or you don't know what I'm talking about. It's just that feeling where it's like, I know that I should be drinking a little bit less, or I know that I should cut back on that a little bit more, or I know that I should start going out for walks in nature more often. And it's not coming from a place of fear or like, I'm not good enough. No. It's just like, you just know that you would feel, you do it. Whatever it is that your intuition is telling you to do, and you feel a little bit better. And it's like, okay, that felt good actually. Fuck, that felt good. I get it, right? That's your intuition leading you and guiding you. And it's often something that is outside of your comfort zone. That's why we as humans tend to be like, no, thank you. I don't want to do that. One time, I was at a Starbucks, this is years ago, and I have a million examples like this, but just, I was sitting there with somebody, and I saw a woman walk by. It was an older woman, just nondescript, right? And she sat down directly behind me and was having a loud conversation with whoever she was talking to. And I think, I don't even remember who I was with, but my intuition told me to turn around and compliment that woman on her hairdo. I was like, what the fuck? I'm not complimenting on her hairdo. And I looked at it and like, she did have nice hair. Okay. So it was actually like, it wasn't like I was being forced to do something that I didn't want to do. I was like, well, she does have nice hair, I suppose. And the whole time I was talking to whoever I was talking to, I just kept getting this nudge, compliment the woman on her hair. And it wouldn't quiet down until I did it. So finally, whoever I was talking to, I said, hold on a sec. Just hold on a second. And I turned around and I said, I'm very sorry to interrupt your conversation here, but I saw you walking by and I just think you have a really nice haircut and I just wanted to give you that compliment. Have a good day. and smiled, and her face lit up, and she was like, well, thank you so much. I don't know what to say. Thank you. And it almost brought me to tears. That's how you know that you're like, ding, 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 ding. You did it. You listened to your intuition. Now, I don't understand what was going on there behind the scenes, but everything is connected, right? I played a role in her life that day. She played a role in my life that day. I don't know if she needed to hear that from somebody and I was that somebody, but I was like, okay, that felt good. That was cool. Yeah, it took me 20 minutes to finally muster up the courage to be like, fine, I'll talk to her. But that's what this is about, is stepping outside of your comfort zone, having faith and trust, and listening to that intuitive nudge. And so nowadays I'm flying as often as I can, just flying on my intuition. And oftentimes doing that looks absolutely absurd to those around you. Right? Because oftentimes God or that voice will tell you that your intuition will tell you to do something, and it's absolutely absurd. Totally illogical. But it's about having faith and trust that there's something going on here. And it's all going to work itself out if you just follow the leader. Right? Follow your intuition. I was reminded of that scene in Star Wars. If you haven't seen it, I'll lay it out for you. Where Luke Skywalker and his pals are flying to attack the Death Star. Right? That giant circular structure. And the deal is you have to shoot a very specific small spot on it, and it's going to create a cascading effect and destroy the whole Death Star. Okay? That's the object. But it's like next to impossible. Nobody can do it except for our boy Luke Skywalker. We've tried and we can't do it. So they're all going in on this big climax of the film, right? And they've got Darth Vader and all these enemies following them and shooting them out of the sky, and Luke Skywalker's losing people left and right, but he's flying in closer to the Death Star, getting closer and closer to his little tiny target, and it's getting real tense. And we don't know if he's going to make it, right? And he has this, Google Glass situation in front of his eye that's got readouts and stuff for the computer display, right? So to help him to navigate and to shoot to the right place, right? So he's got this computer thing in front of his eye, but he hears a voice. Yes, it's the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi, but let's just call it his intuition, right? Maybe our intuition is actually just Obi-Wan Kenobi from the other side, guys. Let's just think about that for a minute. In fact, I kind of like that idea, but the idea of the force being this sort of energetic soup that's helping us out, right? This energy field, or this unknown thing. Let's call it God or the universe. I like the idea of the force because I think that we're in a similar situation. So Luke is flying in here, and he turns off his Google Glass. He turns off his navigation and turns off everything because he's just going to go 100% on his intuition. And all the other pilots and people back at, home base are like, Luke, what are you doing, man? You're not using your computers. And he's like, I got this. I'm going to use the force, right? And he's like, okay, whatever, dude. And of course, he shoots the target and it goes directly where it needs to go, and he saves the day, and the whole thing blows up, right? It all worked out because he followed his intuition. Despite it looking completely illogical and like, what are you doing? And it's not going to work out. And Darth Vader's right on your heels. And then it worked out. So I use these things as examples because they help me to follow my intuition more and more and more. Especially this current path that I'm on. For those of you that have been following my videos on Instagram and YouTube over the last several years, you understand that I'm on a real specific path. And it looks real crazy to those that aren't me. I understand that. That's all right. I had to work through that. But I've got my intuition leading me down this path with the knowing and the belief that it's all going to work out. Despite what it currently looks like, despite to me or to anybody else. And so I'm on autopilot. Meaning I'm letting the universe take me where it will. Right? It's not to say that I'm inactive. I'm definitely active, but when the universe tells me to jump, I jump. When the universe tells me to be patient and wait, I sit down and be patient and wait. When the universe tells me to stop controlling things, I try my best to stop controlling things, right? And I'm getting really, really good at listening to my intuition. And upon a lot of reflection, usually at 3 a.m, I realized that my intuition has never once let me down. It's got a real good track record. The only times I fall on my ass is when I don't listen to my intuition and I try to control something, or I go in a different direction, or I try to do it my way. And that's fine. That's all part of the learning process, right? It's falling on your ass. There's nothing wrong with that. But upon reflection, my intuition has never let me down. Another example is I was dropping off my sister and her family to the airport, and I was driving their vehicle. So I was taking their vehicle, dropping them off at the airport, and then dropping their vehicle back off at their house, okay? And on the way there, I didn't know how to get to the airport from their house. So my brother-in-law was telling me where to go. He was my GPS. He was my navigator in the front seat, right? And so he was telling me where to go. And then I realized on the way back, I didn't know how to get back to their house from the airport. And so I loaded it into the old Google Maps. And Google Maps was glitching. And it wasn't working correctly, much to my frustration. And so the only thing that I had to rely on was the audio. The turn-by-turn directions were audio only. And I was like, oh, well, that's cool. Okay, well, I guess we'll see how this goes. So I started sort of heading away from the airport, just like patiently waiting for the next turn-by-turn direction. Like, I don't know where the fuck I'm going here. And I was starting to get real antsy because I wasn't hearing anything from the turn. I kept checking it. I'd pull over to the side of the road or go into a little parking lot, and I'd pick up my phone. I was real angry and frustrated, guys. Because I didn't know where the fuck I was going, and I was frustrated that Google Maps wasn't working, and I was getting real riled up, okay? So I had to take a little breather, pull over to the side of the road, kept trying to reset Google Maps. No. That's when I know the universe is up to something here. When it's just like, okay. Release, let it go, stop trying to control, go with the flow. That's what's being asked of me here. So I made sure that it wasn't on mute or something, and I was like, no, it was working. I could hear it. It just wasn't time for me to turn yet. I was just getting a little antsy. You see what the analogy is going here? So I thought okay, it's on. The audio is on. So I hopped back onto the road and just started driving again, just aimlessly because I didn't know, still waiting. And it said, turn right on 142nd. So I did. Okay, fine, I'll turn right. And then driving, nothing. And I'm like, am I supposed to turn somewhere? Where am I supposed to go? I have no idea where I am. I felt like I'm lost and confused. I'm well outside of my comfort zone. And what I had to do was learn to trust and have faith that GPS voice was going to come on and tell me when to turn at exactly the right time. I had to learn to just sit in that uncomfortability of not knowing where the fuck I'm going. But when that voice is needed, it will come. It's a great analogy. And sure enough, it never let me down. That voice popped on and told me to turn left or turn right at exactly the right time. And here's the beauty of it. If I screwed it up and I took a wrong turn, it would recalculate and put me back to my destination again. Because there is no right or wrong turns. Google Maps and the universe will rearrange everything to make sure that you're continuing on the path that you need to go on. for your spirit, for your soul. There is no right or wrong path, because every path that you're on is the right path. The human just gets real stressed out about it. This is the wrong path because of programming. The church will often tell us that we're in the wrong path. Our parents will tell us that we're on the wrong path. Society will tell us we're on the wrong path. There is no wrong path, friends. It's a release for me to say that. It's freeing for me to say that. There is no right and wrong path. That's just a story that you've chosen to believe. That's a story I chose to believe my entire life. I had many people in my family telling me that I'm on the wrong path. Telling me I'm doing it wrong, or should be doing it that way, or do it like their path, or, I'm not going into heaven if I don't, if I don't change paths. You're exactly where you're meant to be, always. You can't fuck it up. The voice in your head, your ego, Hal, your flesh, society will tell you you're on the wrong path. I had to reprogram myself. I had to atrophy that storyline. Bye. Don't like that anymore. I'm always on the right path. I'm always where I'm meant to be. It's very freeing. And so I eventually got to my destination. Of course I did. Everything always works out. And so I've learned that as long as I listen to that intuition, that voice, that inner knowing, it's all going to work out. And I will end up exactly where I'm meant to end up. It's not like I make a decision in my life and God's like, whoa, what the fuck is he doing there? Where'd that come from? I don't believe it works that way. So that's where I'm at. I'm just thinking a lot about my intuition lately and thinking a lot about this path that I'm on. And I find a lot of satisfaction. I find a lot of peace in knowing that I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. That puts me in a peaceful place. Right? It just popped into my head, that story or that image of let's play the psychic game. Do you know what I'm about to say? I'll send it to you psychically. The story of the footprints in the sand. Huh? Anybody? Did you get that one right? Good job. The footprints in the sand. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there's the footprints in the sand on the beach, and I can't remember the whole thing off the top of my head, but basically it's like during the tough times in my life, I thought I was all alone. I have this one set of footprints on the beach walking, but it turns out they were Jesus's footprints, and that's where he was carrying me during the hard times. Something along those lines, right? And so it's about letting Jesus take the wheel. It's about letting Jesus carry you on the beach. How romantic. And not panicking when Jesus is carrying you or driving you. It's a driving Miss Daisy situation, I think, guys. Just let Jesus drive. That's fine. And try not to panic. So, love you guys. End transmission.